Hello, welcome to Grayson's Reading Galaxy. I'm Grayson, and this is Pips, and this is going to be our first reading vlog. Pips, do you have anything you want to add for the people? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start off this video with just going over the current reads that I'll be reading this week. Though I will probably not finish all of these reads, and there might be books that aren't included in this that I end up finishing. We're just going to introduce where I'm currently at. So here we go. All right, the first book of my current reads is A Lot's Away by Darcy Little Badger. And for this one, I'm currently on chapter 9, which is on page 84. I'm reading this book both physically and with the audio. And so far in the book, A Lot's Away, who is the main character, she has the power to bring the dead animals or anything that is non-human to life in ghost form, which was passed down to her from her ancestors. She also has the power to see visions in her dreams, and in one of her dreams, she saw who murdered her cousin. Her cousin just recently died, and it was marked as just an accident, but she knows it's a murder, and so her and her dad are going down to where her cousin lives to go ahead and prove that her cousin was murdered by this man. So far, I'm enjoying the book a lot, and I honestly can't wait to see how she proves that this man murdered her cousin. The next one is Pachinko by Minjin Lee, which is right here. For this one, I am currently on chapter 7, which is page 52. At the moment, I'm really enjoying this book, which for me is a little shocking just because historical fiction is not normally one that I rate very highly. I tend to get bored very easily, so I'm glad that this one is holding my attention. I am reading this book physically and with the audio. And then so far in the book, we have our main character Sunja, who lives with her mom, and they kind of work at like a boarding house where they house men who work. And then she falls in love with a man named Hansu, and she ends up getting pregnant with his child, only to find out that he's married and has 3 children. And this makes her like really upset because in this day and age, like she can't be pregnant and not be married. And so now she's just broken things off with him. And so I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Then we have the book We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez, which looks like that. And for this one, I am currently on page 224 on a Pulga chapter. And this one I'm also reading physically and through audio. So far, this one's okay. It's a little bit slower than I was expecting it to be, so I am struggling a little bit to get through it, but otherwise, I'm still on the goal to finish it. So far, this book is about 3 characters, Pulga and Chico, who were recruited into a gang but knew that they needed to get out of the gang situation, and so they are on their way to America with Pequeña. And Pequeña is a character who had a child with one of the gang members. She also knew that her life would not be the way that she wanted it if she stayed where she was. So all 3 of them are making the treacherous journey from Guatemala to America to try and get away from the gang before the gang gets them. So far, I'm in the middle of their journey to America, and it's really interesting to see what they have to go through and how difficult that travel is to go from Guatemala all the way to America, and the challenges that they have and the worries that they have to deal with about the gang catching up to them. And so I am excited to see how it ends, and we're going to go ahead and keep reading it. Next, we have Fence Volume 5 Rise by C.S. Picot, Johanna the Mad, and Joanna Lafuente. This is what it looks like. I am currently on chapter 19, which is the 3rd chapter in this particular volume. So far, I am absolutely loving this book. I've loved the entire series. I read volumes 1 through 4 in one day, and the physical book finally arrived for volume 5, so we are getting started. I'm sure that this is going to be a really quick read for me. So far in the book, the team has made their way to a fencing training camp. And here, our character, Nicholas, who is an amateur fencer on the team, is hoping that he can see how much he has grown and grow more as he challenges people. And then Seji is hoping that he can just learn. He is an advanced and number one spot fencer who hasn't been challenged by anybody in years. And so he honestly just wants to learn something at this camp. So yeah, I'm excited to finish this one and see what my thoughts are by the end. The next story is Amelia Gray is Almost Okay by Jessica Brody, which looks like that. I have not yet started this one. So this one says 12-year-old Amelia Gray has changed schools 39 times because of her dad's job, which doesn't leave a lot of time for making friends. But that's okay. Amelia loves her life on the go with Dad and their adorable super mutt Biscotti. And she's been in enough middle schools to know that friendships are messy and who needs that. But when her dad announces that he wants to stay in their new town for the whole summer, maybe even forever, Amelia realizes she's going to have to do the one thing she's never had to do: fit in. So she gives herself not one, but 3 total makeovers to try out a few personalities and hopefully find her thing. Is she Amy, a confident track star, Melly, a serious journalist, or Leah, a bold theater kid? Juggling 3 identities is hard, and Amelia soon finds herself caught in the kind of friendship drama she has always managed to avoid. Yet despite her best effort, she still can't answer the most important question of all: who is the real Amelia Gray? I will be reading this book both physically and with audio, so I'm excited to see what this book is going to bring. Our next book is Almost There by Farrar Rachone, which looks like that. I'm currently on chapter 7, which is page 72. I'm reading this book both physically and with the audio. As of this point, Tiana has made a deal with Dr. Facilier, and her father is back in her life because of the deal that she made, and everything's been going really well, but so far she feels like something bad is about to happen because of the deal that she made with him. I'm really enjoying the book and cannot wait to see what bad thing is probably going to happen due to this, and then how Naveen is going to come back in because Naveen hasn't been in the story yet. Next, we have How to Train Your Dragon, Book 12, How to Fight a Dragon's Fury by Cressida Cowell. And that's what it looks like. I am currently on page number 62, and I'm also reading this book audio and physically. This book is the last book in the How to Train Your Dragon series, and I have fallen in love with this series. When I first started it, I wasn't feeling it too much just because I was comparing the books a little bit too much to the movie, because I absolutely love the How to Train Your Dragon movies. And so once I was finally able to separate the two, like, I have absolutely just loved this. And this particular book, at the moment, Hiccup has lost his memory and he needs to make his way to the island of Tomorrow because he has to be the one who's crowned king, but currently Elvin is going to be crowned king. And if Hiccup doesn't make it to the island of Tomorrow to be crowned king, then all of Dragonkind will be destroyed by Elvin. So he's currently on a different island without his memories, trying to make his way to the island of Tomorrow. So I'm excited to see when he's going to make it to the island of Tomorrow to take on Elvin to be crowned king. All right, next is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and that is what it looks like. I'm currently on chapter 9, which is page 97. I am also reading this book physically and with the audio. I'm really enjoying this book too, which, very similarly to Pachinko, I'm really glad that I am, since historical fiction, again, is not something that I typically enjoy very much. But in this one, Lale, who is our main character, he is in the concentration camp of Auschwitz/Birkenau, and he is the tattooist who tattoos the numbers on to the inmates' arms. And he uses his position as a tattooist to try and help those other prisoners who need some extra help. And then he ends up falling in love with a prisoner named Gita, who he did tattoo the number on. And so he's just trying to make her life as pleasant as possible while she's at the camp, again, with his position of being the tattooist. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how Gita and Lale's relationship is going to develop while they're in the concentration camp, and just what other things that he might go through being the tattooist of Auschwitz. Next, we have The Memory Thieves by Danielle Clayton, which looks like that. This one I'm so excited for because I really enjoyed the first book in the series. It was one of my favorite books of last year. And so this has been one of my anticipated reads for this year. I'm currently on page 75, and I am reading this book both physically and with the audio. As of this point in the novel, our main character, Ella, is back at the Arcanum Training Institute for her second year. And the second year has just started, but she's currently struggling with the very first activity that they're doing. And so I'm excited to see where it's going to go. The description says that there is going to be a magical illness that sweeps through the institute, and that Ella is going to be the main suspect. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go and how she's going to prove that she is innocent. The next book is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, which I do have the physical copy, but it's currently at my job. So I'll just pop an image of it right here. And this one I'm currently reading for an Instagram challenge that I started, where I'm reading some vampire romances to see if vampire romance is still one of my favorite genres. I am about 100-ish pages in this book, and I'm reading it both physically and through audio. And so far in this book, our main character, Tana, she was at a party, and at this party, she woke up and everybody was dead except for two people. This was her ex-boyfriend, Aiden, and a vampire named Gabriel. And they are pretty much running away from the vampires who killed everybody and making their way to a cold town. And cold towns are basically just where they walled off areas to keep vampires from spreading vampirism. And vampirism became a disease where if a vampire bit you, you would like start to transition, but not fully transition until you actually drank human blood, and then you'd fully transition into a vampire. And so Aiden is currently in the middle of transitioning, but hasn't drank human blood. Tana got bit by a vampire, but she's not sure if she's going to transition yet. And Gabriel is a vampire. And I just left off where they currently made it to the cold town and are in there. So I'm excited to see where this is going to go. We found out kind of a shocking detail about Gabriel, so I'm wondering where that's going to lead. And so I can't wait to continue reading it. Pipsy, do you have anything that you want to add about this book? Yeah? Okay, thank you. All right, the next book is A Touch of Midnight by Laura Adrian, and this is the pre-novella to the Midnight Breed series. This is between the characters Savannah and Gideon, who you've met throughout the first couple of books already in this particular series. I am reading this one purely through audio, and I'm about halfway through. I have about 2 hours left of the audio. And in this one, our main characters, Savannah and Gideon. Savannah is going to college to study art history, and while she's at college, her friend is killed. And one of Savannah's gifts is the ability to touch an object and be able to see its history. And so she touched her friend's bracelet and was able to see how she was killed, where she saw that a vampire had killed her friend. And then Gideon, who gets connected to Savannah because of an object that was stolen that caused her friend to be killed. relates back to his past, and so he wants to see what Savannah knows. That's about where I left off on. And I am reading this for my vampire romance Instagram challenge as well. However, this wasn't one of the original books. I'm just adding it because I just happen to be reading it as the challenge is going on. So yeah, we have The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. And I picked up this series because I, again, really enjoy the How to Train Your Dragon series. So I wanted to see if I would also enjoy this particular one. I'm a couple of hours into this audio and listening to it just as a pure audiobook. And as of this point, we've met Czar, who is our main character, who is a wizard, but he doesn't have his magic yet, though his magic should have already come in. So he went to go hunt a witch. But instead of finding a witch, he found a warrior named Wish. And Wish and Czar are supposed to be like enemies because wizards and warriors don't like each other. And pretty much, Wish had this magical sword with her, which Czar stole from her and is using it to try to defeat his brother in a competition. And that's where I left off. So far, the book is okay. The main character, Czar, kind of annoys me at this point, and I do really like the character Wish, but we haven't gotten to see much of her yet. So I'm hoping that as the story picks up, I'll come to like the characters more, particularly Czar, but would like to see more of Wish to see how much I like her. You have anything you want to add about this one? Oh, yeah, thank you. And the last book for this week is Like You've Nothing Left to Prove by E.L. Massey. In this one, we have two characters. Alex, who is a professional hockey player and has one goal in life, which is to get the Stanley Cup, and his boyfriend Eli, who is a figure skater who had their dreams ruined in a car accident that left them disabled. These two started dating at the end of the last book, and in this one, Alexander wants to really come out because he's not out yet. So him and Eli have to kind of hide their relationship from the world because it could affect his career. But he's determined to come out once he wins the Stanley Cup. As of this point in the book, I am just at their Christmas party. They are at Eli's family's house for Christmas and kind of going on their first like date that's not where they normally are. And so it's just really cute. I loved the first book. It's my favorite book of the year so far. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. I think I'm about 100 pages in this book, and this one I'm reading purely on my Kindle. So no audio for this one. And yeah, excited to continue reading it. See if I love it as much as the second or the first book. See if I loved it as much as the first book. So those are all the books that I'm planning to read this week. As I said, I probably will not finish all of these books. These are just the ones that I'm currently reading. And we'll just see which ones I finish, which books get added, and which ones will be left over for the next week. So we'll pop into woo! All right, so this week I managed to finish 4 books that I was reading. The first 2 are going to be Fence Volume 5 Rise and Fence Volume 6 Redemption. I ended up finishing these in the exact same night, so went very quickly. 5 stars all the way. Really enjoyed the books. These books encompassed their entire training camp experience, and in this time period, our main characters, especially Nicholas, ended up growing a lot, and even Seji grew quite a bit, even though like he didn't really get challenged, though he did end up losing a match. So he was able to realize that people can and will beat him. So that was a good experience for him. The next one is going to lead into them going to the state tournament. So I'm excited to see the growth that they're all going to have going into that tournament and to just see how it goes. I honestly just cannot wait for the next book to come out because book 5 and 6 were so good. The entire series was so good. So I just cannot wait to see it. Our next one is A Touch of Midnight by Laura Adrian. That one I ended up really enjoying as well. I ended up giving it 4 stars. This one was a really short novella, quick and easy to get through. It was from Gideon and Savannah's perspective, and it was really nice to remind me why Gideon no longer goes on missions. Because in the other books, we know that Gideon doesn't go on missions. He's just the tech guy who stays back to help them communicate. And this book ended showing you how or why he does that. And so that was nice because I had forgotten that information. And then finally, I've read Like You've Nothing Left to Prove by E.L. Massey. This was probably by far my favorite book of the week. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Loved it just as much as the first book, if that was even possible. The relationship was absolutely adorable between both of the characters, Eli and Alex. And they both grew so much in the relationship despite the troubles that popped up in this book. And the relationship was just so realistic that it was something that I could see somebody actually going through, which was really cool. And I honestly just loved it. I ended up starting the next book in the series right away, even though it's a new couple, but absolutely love. 5 out of 5. Pips, do you have a favorite book from this week that we read? Oh, we had some big thoughts. Yeah. Thank you. So that's all for this week. I hope you'll come back next week, which hopefully will have a little bit more of some vlog style with our second video and talking about the current reads that we're reading, looking at what's the same from this past week and any new books that have been added, and then looking at me reading those over the course of the week. So thank you for stopping in, and see you next week.